Thank y'all for coming out this afternoon, and I'm eager to join the local leaders here at the library in Baton Rouge to talk about health care policy and specifically the differences between myself and Mr. Rispone's plan to repeal Medicaid expansion by freezing enrollment. But first, I felt the need to respond to something Eddie said about me on the radio this morning. You know, what he said when he was asked about my experience at West Point and my experience in the Army. He said that, you know, that I've hurt the reputation of West Point because I became an attorney after serving. Now, I would just point out that Mr. Rispone went to college to not go in the Army. I went to Army in order to go to college. There's a big difference. And not only what he said was incorrect, it was offensive. You know, at the United States Military Academy at West Point, it was my fellow cadets who selected me among all 4,400 cadets to be in charge of enforcing the honor code. After graduating West Point, I served on active duty in the Army for 8 years, while I was given responsibility over the lives of my soldiers and their families. And I trained in ways and with weapons that Eddie Rispone just can't even begin to understand or fathom. While I was serving, my wife and I had our first daughter, Samantha, and as many of you know, Samantha, she's told her own story. She was born with spina bifida and had very serious health condition, obviously, and a number of surgeries in the first few years. And I decided to get out of the Army and come home so that I could actually be present and help Donna with that particular situation and spend more time with my daughter. I loved serving my country in the military. It's what I wanted to do since I was very, very young. It was a dream come true, and I'll never regret having gone to West Point. I'll never regret having been an Army officer, an infantry officer, having gone to airborne school and to Ranger school. Literally made my living jumping out of airplanes at 2 o'clock in the morning, something that Eddie Rispone would know nothing about. Now, in 1996, once I got out of West Point, I did enter LSU Law School, where I graduated with honors. And after graduating, I had the opportunity and did clerk at the U.S. Fifth Circuit in New Orleans. Following that, I could have gone to many, many places in order to make a lot of money as a lawyer. I chose to go home to my hometown of Amite and open a small country practice where I did all sorts of things as a lawyer. And by the way, I'm very proud of the work that I did there, representing individuals and small businesses, writing wills, doing contracts, handling successions, all sorts of things, including helping farmers right there in Tangipahoa Parish and the elderly who needed help with their legal affairs. In 2007, I again felt the call to serve, and I entered a race for the state representative seat there in District 72, which I won and started in the legislature in 2008. It was the disaster that became Bobby Ginger's 8 years in office that led me to run for governor in 2015, when I saw our state clearly careening toward a ditch of financial ruin. And I was honored when the people of Louisiana elected me. And since taking office, I have worked every day, every single day, to improve the lives of the hardworking people of our state. All of the people, regardless of race, political party, geography, you name it. That's who I am. That's my record of service. It's a record that I'm proud of. So am I offended? Yes, I'm offended by what Eddie said about me and about West Point and about my service. I've already heard from veterans and West Point alumni across the country who feel the same way. You know, if Eddie had served his country in the military, he might be able to understand why so many veterans are rightfully upset with his comments. And I will tell you, his comments speak volumes about him and they say absolutely nothing about me. I am happy to take your questions. Yes, sir.
Can you remember the last time, if any other time, when a political opponent of yours used your military background and attacked?
It's never happened, because it's really not a very smart way to go about running for office, is to denigrate the service of someone who actually served, especially when the comments come from someone who did not serve.
Governor, do you consider yourself, I know you say you were a small country lawyer, do you consider yourself a trial lawyer? Because that seems to be a big part of his criticism, and I think a lot of laymen are like me, they don't understand the difference.
Well, I had a general practice, and I did all sorts of things. So if you look at the work that I did, I represented individuals and small businesses. I did so both on the plaintiff side and on the defendant side. I was appointed by the court on many cases to represent either children or family members of child in need of care cases. But I did wills and testaments, I did successions, I wrote contracts for businesses and for individuals and those sorts of things. You know, when you practice law in Amite, Louisiana, if you specialize, you'll specialize yourself right to the poorhouse. But I'm very proud of the work that I did as a lawyer, and I did good and important work, serving my clients to the best of my ability, and quite frankly, I'd be quite surprised if you could find any of my clients who would tell you that they were disappointed in my services. Yes, sir.
Mr. Rispone has not backed away from these comments, and to paraphrase what he said earlier, he insinuated that there was an overreaction that was occurring to the Mosher response to that.
No, well, what he should do is go back and apologize for his statement. And he should say, you know, I said something that was offensive, and it should have been offensive. That's not what I meant to say. Let me apologize. This is what, because he didn't just take difference with me on positions of policy and that sort of thing. He said negative things about me in reference to my service to the country. He was asked about my experience at West Point, my experience in the Army. And that's because he was falsely saying that I was a career politician. I had a career in the Army, and in fact, when he was on the board of lobby getting special favors from state government, I was still jumping out of airplanes at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was serving our nation as an airborne ranger. And when he was asked about my experience at West Point and in the Army in that context, he chose to talk about how West Point must be disappointed in me. Well, I'll tell you, my West Point classmates are not disappointed in me. West Point itself, I'm actually a distinguished alumnus. If you go there and you go to the visitor center, it's prominently displayed. And I'm proud of the work that I did both at West Point, in the Army, and as governor of Louisiana. So Eddie would maybe he just can't bring himself to admit that he made a mistake and apologize. That's exactly what he should do.
He has clearly decided that the trial lawyer tag is a point of attack against you. Do you understand why the term trial lawyer has become so toxic in this governor's race?
No, look, I don't understand that it has. I know that they're trying to make it that way. But the fact of the matter is my service in the legislature and as governor has always been balanced. And I would defy you to find any bill that has passed the legislature that I have signed into law that actually benefits trial lawyers since I've been governor. It hasn't happened. We've taken a very balanced approach. That's my job on every issue, is to create the right balance between competing interests. Look, Eddie Rispone is desperate. He's losing. And the people of Louisiana don't like him. And I suspect they like him less today than they did yesterday.
Anything else? Great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank y'all.